All right. I apologize for the light coming behind me, and I look like a dark, shadowy Grim Reaper. I promise it's me, Eric, your beloved project management instructor. Do not be afraid. All right. Okay, let's get started. All right, Mr. Luis is today's assistant instructor. Luis, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for asking. So I know you've already done this once, but I'm sure there's plenty of interesting things about you. What is something interesting or unique or a fun fact about you, sir?
Um, I enjoy cooking. I'll say that's pretty a good fun fact about myself.
Awesome. Do you have a particular cuisine or dish that you really enjoy?
I like making penne alla vodka with chicken, like when I'm
Mm.
like, hungry, at like 1 a.m.
That's your midnight snack, huh?
Yeah,
I love it. Samaji says my favorite. Manny says you're hired as my chef. Wow, Luis, I'm sure that's your life ambition to be Manny's chef. Is that right?
since I was born.
All right. Well, there you go. We got a great partnership going already between Luis and Manny and the restaurant. Great. And what is a question, Luis, that you want to pose to our group for today?
Um, hmm, wasn't really prepared for this, but what is like the first thing you guys do right after getting off Zoom?
After getting off of what?
Zoom after getting off Zoom.
Okay, so like you're done like for the day or just like done like for a
Yeah,
meeting?
done for
Like
the day, like after hours of
okay,
being
cool.
on the screen. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're done for the day. Luis, what do you do when you're done working for the day?
I usually get on Xbox.
Okay. So you move from one screen to another.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's what Luis does. We got David goes to the gym. Jesus, I'm the same with Jesus. I try not to look at a screen. Sometimes I'm successful. Sometimes I'm not. Manny, wow, you run for 5 miles, Manny. You are a machine. I don't even know if I could walk for 5 miles. All right, play the game or go out. Take a walk outside. Um, Overwatch. What's that, Rahul? Is that a game?
Yeah, it's a I don't know what kind. It's a first-person shooter on PS4. I have all the consoles, but I play on PS4.
Oh, very cool. Okay, great. Ashley Ross, I sit at my desk for 20 minutes thinking about quitting Year Up. Well, Ashley, you can't quit Year Up because we all rely on you to be a great student and a great participant and a great friend. Can we all agree with that? So you have to stay because you inspire all of us. Andre, you got on smoke. Okay, I'm sorry that Europe is so stressful that you have to go smoke, but okay. Mohammed, you go outside. Definitely a good idea. Get some fresh air. Um, check to Ashley. Ashley Gavin, take a nap, hide from adulthood and/or paint. There you go, Rahul. You made a new friend on COD. I don't know what COD means. I know what OCD is, but not COD. I'm gonna do take a power nap. Um, sleep, sleep, sleep. Walk the dogs. So yeah, good idea, Ricky. Nap. What I used to
COD
do.
is Call of Duty. Sorry to
Oh
interrupt.
yeah, no, it's okay. That's important information to know. So Call of Duty, I look forward to you guys playing together and enjoying that time. Um, so what I try to do to answer this is a great question, by the way, Luis, is I just have mental breakdowns and ignore my problems. Wow, it sounds like we got a very stressed out group today. I think we're gonna have to do some deep breathing here in a moment. Does that sound good to everybody? Deep breathing with Eric. We'll do it here in a second. Um, so here's my thing. Before it got dark at 5 p.m. and we all got depressed, whenever I would get home from work, I would go out to the playground with my daughters, and I would actually leave my cell phone at home. I wouldn't bring my cell phone with me because I wouldn't want to be tempted to look at a screen. And I found out like do that for like 30 minutes to an hour. Just take them outside, go to the playground, get fresh air. I found that to be a very nice way to kind of wind down from the day. All right, let's go ahead and get to our seats. Get a comfortable position. Make your back, your spine as straight as possible. Relax your shoulders. Don't be like this. Don't be like this. Make sure your neck is parallel to the rest of your back. Hey, Lazar. Um, so just get comfortable in your seat and inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Nice and slow. Close your eyes for this one. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Now, go ahead and roll your neck a little bit. Roll your shoulders if you need to. Kind of shake it out a little bit. Now repeat after me. I am smart. All right.
I am smart.
Thank you. I am capable.
I am capable.
And I am here for a reason.
I'm here for a reason.
And I will ace my finals.
And I will ace Kachun's final.
That's right. Speak it into existence, Ashley. Deep breath. Do we all feel a little bit better now? Okay. We will ace our finals in all caps. Yes, yes, and yes. See? It's all mindset. Andre says nah. Well, that's what I do whenever I feel stressed out. I do some deep breaths, I stretch out, and then I tell myself I'm smart, I'm capable, I'm going to do well in this. I'm here for a reason. All that helps me. So it's all mindset. The greatest enemy that you have in your life lives between your ears. All right, let's go ahead and get started with class. On that high note, I got a challenge for you. You just wrapped up a 30-day sprint with your Scrum team, and you are doing a sprint retrospective. You worked hard on the sprint and are exhausted and felt like your team members did not pull their weight like you did. Sound familiar? The meeting concludes and everyone is gathering their things, getting ready to leave. You pull Scrum Master Samantha to the side and you vent your frustrations about your team not pulling their weight. She looks back at you and she says, "Bring it to the team," and keeps packing her bag. Why does Samantha say this? And what do you think her comment means? Did Paul come back? No, Paul's gone. Andre, what is Samantha telling you to do?
Pretty much since everybody has like an equal say in this team, and basically bring it to the rest of the team. If you guys have the same mutual type of struggle with this same person, then I feel like it would be in everybody's best interest to come together and confront said person about this.
Mm-hmm. And let me follow up with you, Andre, because I know that you're a project management extraordinaire. Why doesn't Samantha solve this problem for you? Why doesn't she say, "Oh, I'll talk to them for you"?
Because it's not necessarily like Samantha is like a project manager where she's in charge of everybody else's roles.
Yes, absolutely, Andre. And like what you said earlier, in Scrum, we're all equals. The development team is equal. The Scrum Master is equal. The product manager is equal. The hierarchy is flat. So one of the things that I encourage you to do in your professional life is not to create triangular relationships. Do you know what a triangular relationship is? Let's say that me and Manny have a problem with each other, which would never happen because me and Manny are friends, right? But let's say we have a problem with each other. What should happen with two mature adults? Manny and I should solve our problem together, right? Because it's our problem with one another. A triangular relationship is when Manny goes to Rahul and says, "Oh my gosh, I can't stand Eric." And then Rahul goes, "Yeah, Eric is kind of annoying, isn't he?" What just happened? Now there's three people. It's a triangle. That's not healthy. That's not good. Two adults, a healthy relationship should solve a problem with one another, not going to a third party. So communicate, don't complain, Hannah Holmes says, which I love. Communicate with the team. Hey, Zeus, it's my team, not hers. Thank you, Manny. Rahul, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it's a little relative, but relevant. But I remember retail spaces. You know, one thing I've learned is to always kind of not do that talking. You know, like about others, because I've noticed I was always kind of a ear to people. Everybody felt comfortable saying things to me. So I just listened, and I just, you know, heard everybody complain about each other and talk behind each other's backs. And just like, you know, it created a sense of disrespect of, you know, this ingenuine, you know, behavior towards each other, which, you know, led to a lack of productivity.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Rahul, for that example for sure. And it's one of those things where like you don't want to be that person who's like, listen, you're telling me this information, I can't do anything about it. You need to go talk to that person directly. That takes a lot of maturity, but that is important. So Eric Palmer says that's a fact at Rahul, which I agree. That is a fact. So here's the thing. Um, Luis, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
Thank you, sir. The best leaders in Scrum don't do the work for the team. So just like this example kind of shared out, the best leaders in Scrum are not the ones who do everything. They're the ones who empower their team to do the work. So how many of you, I don't know how many of you like rugby. I personally don't know anything about rugby at all. Like I don't even know what the rules are. But what the word Scrum comes from rugby, where it's a group of people together fighting for the ball. This is called a scrum in rugby. So as you can see here, if you look closely, it's like football but with no gear. That sounds really intense. As you can see here by this photo, there's black uniforms and there's red uniforms. So both teams are in that pile together, like looking for that ball. Andre, do you play rugby?
Um, just for a couple of years back when I visited some of my family in England, they're kind of into rugby a lot.
Yes, they definitely are. So okay, Andre, so maybe you can help us out. Like what they're doing here is this is the beginning of the match. They're all trying to get the ball. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically each side is inching towards trying to fight for the ball, and whoever gets to it first, they'll pass it to the outside men to hopefully score and advance forward.
Yeah, and this is actually called a scrum right here when everyone's down together with their heads down. And what we're going to be talking about today is the daily scrum. Yeah, the social distancing for sure is not happening in this photo. And sprint reviews and sprint retrospectives. So I apologize that it got cut off at the bottom there, but number 5, the Scrum events, also called the Scrum ceremonies. These are we already know what sprint planning is. We already know what sprint is. Now we're going to talk about the daily Scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. All right. So the daily Scrum meeting. This is a 15-minute standing meeting for the development team. So the product owner or the product manager rather, and the Scrum Master don't need to be there. This is just for the team where they all get together and they ask these 3 questions of one another. What did you do yesterday? What will you do today? And is there any impediment or is there any obstacles blocking you that we can work on together? So do me a favor, raise your hand or put in the chat box. Why are these 3 questions so powerful that they're what drive the whole entire Scrum daily meeting? What about these questions are so helpful? Raise your hand or put in the chat box and let's talk about it because I think it's worth our time. Yes, Ashley Gavin, to see what progress is being made for sure and to remain updated. Absolutely. Chelsea, measuring productivity and progress for sure. Let me ask you a question, Chelsea B. What happens if you do a stand-up meeting and you just spend time shooting the breeze and talking about the news, the sports, and the weather? Is that a good use of your time?
No, not at all.
No, and these questions kind of keep things focused, and they're a broad enough question you can answer it well, but it's also specific enough that you can share details. Love it. Keeps one on track. Yeah, Mohammed, can you unmute yourself? Why is that so important in a sprint to stay on track?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say like you're communicating well. It's my course like not knowing which stage you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Always gonna keep out of your on task. So let's say yesterday you did something, but
Yeah.
you forgot or you don't remember. So how are you gonna like apply that to tomorrow's schedule? How is that gonna work for you?
Exactly. Yep. Thank you, Mohammed. And one of the words, I don't think anybody has used it yet, but it's an important word, is it keeps everybody accountable, right? Because this is the thing is if everyone knows what you worked on yesterday and what you're working on today and what your challenges are, guess what's going to happen the next day? You have another stand-up meeting, and if me and Jesus and Chelsea are a team and I say I'm going to do X, the next day comes by and I haven't done X, both Jesus and Chelsea know, hey, Eric's lagging behind, right? As opposed to, yeah, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it. So these normally happen during a sprint every workday, 15 minutes, and these are actually what are called standing meetings, and which literally means that you stand while you do the meeting. All right. So, yeah. So, Jesus, you've learned about this before. Manny, when you did this in construction, did you guys also stand? You didn't sit down, right? You stood together in a circle. Is that right?
Um, we was we was sit like in a school circle,
Mm-hmm.
and the boss will go one by one. Okay, what have you done, and what are you missing? So in
Right.
case that person did not make it the next day, we all knew where he stood at, and we would just finish it for him or continue to work for him.
Okay. So it kept everybody aligned. So it wasn't like, hey, so and so called out sick. We have no idea what he was working on. Yeah, that's really smart. Um, so why do you think it's a standing meeting? Why not all, sit down, drink coffee, shoot the breeze, talk about, your kids or something like that? Why is it a standing meeting? Yeah, Majida.
Because when in the beginning of sprint, like when a sprint begins, you do the planning phase, like you do just enough planning that you can start, and prior to like actually starting the sprint, you have a specific goal for that specific sprint that you want to do, and you already have all your goals and task oriented. So all you need
Hmm.
to do is a quick meeting where you just like make sure everything's up to date, or like maybe just ask everybody how they're doing or what they have to do for the day, or like they know the necessary steps that they have to take in order to proceed, and that should be it.
Exactly, Majida. You hit the nail on the head. You front load in the planning phase. Like these are not planning meetings. These are very quick, 15 minutes or less standing meetings. David and Chelsea.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off what Majid said. So yeah, if you don't have a standing meeting and everybody's not cooperating, then nobody has any shared ideas. It's just a bunch of individuals with different ideas and different ideas that everybody's not going to agree with.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So making sure everyone's aligned, very important, David. And Chelsea, what was your comment?
Oh, I was going to say that when I looked at standing meeting, the first thing I thought was that's as long as people are willing to stand in one spot. So that keeps it brief and to the point, so we're not making like extra points. We're just focusing on what we're actually had pre-planned. So by the time the 15 minutes is done, everyone's tired of standing there and it's time to go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chelsea. I think we have a tendency to overthink, but you're 100% right. Why do we stand? Because it's demonstrating to all of us this is supposed to be a quick meeting. Nobody wants to stand for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. A standing meeting should be 15 minutes or less. I apologize that this font is not the clearest. This will also be on Schoology later, so you can take a look at that. But this is like in detail what a daily scrum should look like. So as you see here, it's time boxed, 15 minutes or less. This is not, as Majid said earlier, a problem-solving meeting. You're not going into details of planning. It's not open-ended. This is just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I did yesterday. This is what I'm doing today, and these are some of my blockers. And as you can see here, which I think is interesting, it's the same place at the same time every single day because it reduces complexity that way. Um, and for those who don't know, an information radiator, if you see those quite a bit in Scrum, that's when you have like all the sticky notes up on the wall of like what needs to be done. So one of the downfalls of working in New York City is that real estate obviously is extremely expensive. So like in other parts of the country, they may have a room dedicated to the Scrum team where they can go in every day for their stand up and keep their sticky notes on the wall. But unfortunately in New York City, because space is limited, that's probably a digital information radiator that you would just put up on a big screen and talk through together. But that's what you want to do every day that you work. But that's kind of the goal of this meeting. Very short, very brief. Put your heads together, and this is what we're doing today. Keeps each other accountable. So, like, I have a question. I want to kind of throw it back to the group. How do you think like this improves productivity, not just in projects, but imagine if like at your job, if you and your team every morning for 15 minutes did this stand-up meeting and talked about your goals for the day. Like, what do you think that would do to you as a contributor to the organization? Like, what are some of the benefits of this incorporated into your daily life? What do you think? Yes, Mr. Jesus.
I would say basically like it allows everyone to stay on track and it kind of motivates you as well. So like
Mhm.
you know that everybody's actually gonna put work, that they're describing their goals, and yeah, I would say that's mostly what it would do for committing to Scrum.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the thing of it is, when you're together with your team, there's a sense of we're doing this together. There's a bigger picture. You know, everybody else is working just like you are. I think this is even more important in the virtual space, right? Because you don't see your coworkers, like you don't see what they're doing, but to have a sense of working together is really good. As Chelsea says, collective unity. That you know that you're doing this together. And Christian, it's like setting up daily goals. What do you mean by that, Christian?
For example, if we are in a meeting and they ask me what I'm gonna do today, so I'm explaining it, but imagine tomorrow when they ask me again what I did yesterday and I'm not finished it, so they're gonna think like I'm not doing my tasks fully, you know. So
Totally.
like it puts like pressure on us to finish our tasks in the day.
Yeah, I love that word, Christian. It's I say this sometimes. I think it's a kind of helpful. It's called positive peer pressure. So remember when you were like, in high school when there was peer pressure to like do something wrong? There's also positive peer pressure where it's like, hey, you know what? If everyone else on this team is doing things and I need to do things as well, I can't just slack off. Yeah, Majida.
I was gonna say like sometimes being in a project that takes a very long time, like for example, waterfall,
Hmm.
sometimes you end up like the motivation is lost somehow. Like you kind of like your becomes very questionable,
Hmm.
and you start to like question it, and like the work ethics, like the quality of your work may start going down. But with daily Scrum, like you're able to have your goal and task oriented, so like you know what you're working towards for the end of the day, and you know you're working towards something as a bigger goal as well.
100%. You're totally right. It's so easy to lose motivation when you're doing a larger project. That's natural, but to have those opportunities to connect with your team really goes a long way. A lot of you will be doing internship here in 2 months, and I can imagine that most of your companies, if you're working in a help desk, will probably do a daily scrum. Even if you're not working on a project, you'll probably do a 15-minute, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever time it is. You all go into a room, you all talk about what you're doing that day. And it really does go a long way. It's one of those things, in my opinion, for organizational health that every team should do because it just helps people stay connected. So that's a daily scrum. That's the first thing I want to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about is a sprint review. So just to make things complicated, I promise you won't be tested on this. There's what's called a sprint review, and there's what's called a sprint retrospective. So the sprint review, this is facilitated by the product manager, and this is going over the product. This is demoing what was just completed in the previous sprint. So some of the things that you might talk about is what has been accomplished, what were some of the challenges, what can we celebrate, and what is next. So as I remember, I mentioned this before, but a sprint is anywhere from a week to 30 days. So at the end of that week to 30 days, you get together with everybody. This is stakeholders, this is scrum master, this is product manager, this is development team, and they do a sprint review. These are pretty intensive. Okay, these are 2 to 4 hours long, focusing on the product only, not talking about processes or how the team worked or what we can do better. That's actually the sprint retrospective, and that's a different meeting, and that's very brief. That's about 30 minutes to an hour. And what that meeting does is that's just an opportunity for us to say, hey, this worked really well last time we did the sprint. This didn't work so well last time. Let's go ahead and improve to make sure that we're better for our next sprint. So continuous improvement is a huge part of the DNA of Scrum, which I think is really helpful. So what do you think happens? Like, imagine if you decide, you know what, that sprint retrospective, that's kind of not really worth our time. We don't need to worry about what we did well and worry about areas of improvement. What would happen to the team after you went through, let's say, 6 sprints and you never did a sprint retrospective? What could go wrong if you ignored that? Yeah, David.
Well, since you're all accountable for said project and you don't really realize you think there's no room for improvement, because there is always room for improvement, whether it be a project or any other circumstance.
Yep.
Yeah, if you don't realize those areas, then you're gonna be called out upon it, and then you're gonna realize like you should have made those improvements in the long run.
Totally. And you realize, like, you know what, if we get to month 6 and we haven't had our sprint retrospective to talk about how we can work better as a team, we've wasted a lot of time and energy and efficiency what we could have nipped in the bud in month 1. Excellent. Manny, then Majida.
Sorry, I have something. So I have two
Okay.
questions. Right. The first one is who will make the meeting? The Scrum Master or the Program Manager?
Yeah, great question. So the sprint review, which is a 2 to 4 hour long meeting where you talk about the product, that would be the product manager facilitating the most of that because he or she is in charge of the product. The scrum master does a sprint retrospective, the 30 to 60-minute meeting, talking about how the team can work more efficiently together. The stakeholders are almost always present for the sprint review because they want to see what has been added to the product. Whereas the sprint retrospective, which is more like an in-house meeting, the stakeholders don't need to be there for that. But like I said, with Scrum, it's a very flat structure. So like it's not just the product manager talking for 4 hours. The team also is sharing out what they did as well. And yes, as Ashley Ross said, the meeting should be succinct. It shouldn't be blabbing. So is that helpful, Manny?
Yes, it is. And the second question is, you know how we were talking about like the 15-minute meeting. Um, in the beginning of class, you mentioned about somebody not being productive and like the person is not being like not being held accountable. What would happen then if the person keeps lying in the meeting and you see that nothing is being done? What would happen in that certain situation?
Yeah, so you're saying you have a person on a team who's not pulling their weight, and you want to address that with that person. Is that what you're asking, Manny?
Yes.
All right, let's. I'm gonna get to you in a moment, Majidex. I've seen your hand, but does anybody want to raise their hand and or put in the chat box how you would address that? You have that person on your team who's not, pulling their weight. What would you do to address that? Manny's just trying to fire somebody. How about we hear from Amadul, since we haven't heard from you yet today, Amadul. What do you do? You're on a development team. You have someone not pulling their weight. How do you address it?
I talk to them directly, whether it's one-on-one or with the whole team, and then provide them with our work and tell them like, or show them like, this is how you do it. And if you have any problem that is preventing you from doing your work, we can help you out. But you should always reach out to us if there's anything wrong.
Yes, thank you so much. So, Peter Drucker, who's a leadership expert, he talks about how a small problem is like a snowball, right? If Amadou and I were hanging out together in the Bronx on a snowy day, and I tossed Amadou a snowball and he caught it, that'd be kind of fun, right? We're playing with the snow. But if Amadou and I are at the bottom of a mountain and there's an avalanche coming, that's not so fun. Is it? That's like, no, let's run for our lives. The problem is a lot of us ignore those small issues, those snowballs, and then they turn into avalanches, and they're not able to be handled. So the sprint retrospective meeting, that after the end of the sprint, that's not the moment to say, hey, you know what, this was a 30-day process, and on day 4 I noticed that you did this. You don't do that, right? You just say, on day 4, hey, I noticed you did this and I would prefer that you do that. That's, you want to nip it immediately. That's really critical.
David has his hand up.
Oh, thanks, Luis. Yeah, didn't mean to ignore you, David. Sorry.
Sorry, I appreciate it. Yeah, I would definitely use some inspiration and just remind my colleague about the why, why we're here, and just tell them we're all a team at the end of the day, and we're all
Yep.
striving to make that same effort into making our manager proud or just inspiring others.
Yeah, yeah. Understanding. Remember what we had Rachel share last week, and she said, understanding the other person's motivation is the way you influence them, which is important. Majida, you had your hand up earlier. Did you have a comment, or did we talk about it already?
You just like how you mentioned like the snowball, it was kind of like the same thing. So you already mentioned it.
Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, let's do one more scenario, then we'll take our short break. So you're at your sprint review meeting regarding the year of app. Remember, we started building the app yesterday. In this past sprint, this past 30 days, things did not go so well. So you were off for 2 weeks because of the holiday break. And even though you were planning on using the sprint to install the messenger function, the alert function on Schoology, and the office hours with the links this iteration, the only thing that you ended up installing were the office hours and links. So now you have the sprint review. You're presenting the results of this sprint to the stakeholders. How do you, as the product manager, in 2 or 3 sentences, share what happened? We didn't get everything done that we thought we would get done, while also giving them confidence that you're gonna, make sure that this next sprint you accomplish everything that you set out for yourself. So take 30 seconds, think about it, and I'm gonna cold call somebody because I want to hear from someone I haven't heard from yet. By the way, Ricky, what kind of dog do you have there?
He's a husky.
It's a beautiful dog.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I like your shirt, by the way.
Thanks.
All right, take a few seconds. You see him there? Like, I'll spotlight Ricky's video. There we go. There, he's sleeping over there. Aw, cute dog. Is it he or she, Ricky? You're on mute.
He.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Great. All right. Ashley, Gavin, you have your hand up. Let's hear how you are going to address this.
I'd say, so due to unfortunate circumstances, we didn't get to complete the entire, sprint? Because I missed
Sorry.
the sprint thing. And so, of course, there are setbacks, but we will ensure that this is going to be completed by next week. Keep it simple and short.
Cool. Yeah. So, like, no fluff, just cut right to the chase. This is what happened. This is what we're going to do. Great. Thanks, Ashley. Andre?
Ladies, gentlemen, I regret to inform you that last week's sprint didn't go as well or expected as we planned, but just a minor setback, rest assured. The same thing will happen in the following one.
Great. So just what's it like? Very much like Ashley, just shooting straight with people, saying, "Hey, listen, we can't get it done, but we're going to do it this go around." So one of the values of Scrum is openness. All right. So knowing that openness is an important component of the process, what do you guys think you could do during the sprint to be transparent with the stakeholders if you realize, oh shoot, like we're not going to deliver like we thought we would? What do you think? Suppose, like, let's tease it out. Suppose it's week 1, it's Friday, you're at your stand up, you're like, oh man, like we're not going to get all 3 of these functions completed because we're going, offline for the next 2 weeks. Then we get back, we have 1 more week. We need to address this with the stakeholders now, and be open and transparent. How might you do that as a leader? Yeah, Majida, then Manny.
I actually was gonna have a question. In Scrum, like, would it be, because you know how in Scrum, like, it has very like hard deadlines, like you have to meet them. Would it be possible that you like add a sprint like without having the review, or like add some time to your current sprint, or is that like a hard no?
No, that's a really great question. I mean, the nice thing about Agile is that you can be flexible. So maybe that conversation on Friday is, hey, we're just going to say these 2 weeks that we're on break is a wash. And when we come back, we're going to spend 3 more weeks finishing out our sprint. And we'll be sure to get all 3 of those done. And I think that the stakeholders would prefer that as opposed to showing up at the sprint review and realizing it's not done. So yeah, that could totally work. It's a really good point.
Thank you.
Yep. And Manny?
I will offer like I will make a post saying like if they want to work from home or that Friday stay a little bit more like a little overtime. Like instead of going home at 5 p.m., go home like around 6:30, 7 around there, or for the next 2 weeks, work from home. So by
Sure.
the time we get back, we have a little bit of an advance.
Right. So here's a really good point, Manny. Here's a follow-up question. How would you incentivize or motivate your team to, do the extra work over the holiday? Well, yeah, when Christian says, "Come on, boss, it's a holiday," how, other than firing them, how would you motivate them to work on the holiday? What do you think, Manny?
I mean, we did agree to a contract saying just because it's a holiday doesn't mean we can't work. If you did homework in college, middle school, high school, why can you work when you're getting paid for those holidays?
Hey, extra money, give them a raise. I think Manny should make a big meal for all of us, and we all go to his house and we have dinner, and then we'll all work after. Maybe we'll work then we eat dinner because it's kind of hard to work after a big dinner. So is that a fair deal, Manny?
Sounds like a deal.
All right, you're gonna cook for 30 of us. Sounds great. And Ashley Ross, one of the big five personality traits. What is that? I missed that.
When you said that openness was really important, that's one of the big five personality traits.
Oh yeah, very cool. I'm so glad you brought that up because we're gonna talk about that after our ramen noodles for days after our break. So yes, thank you, Ashley, for that observation. Let's come back at 11:13. Thanks, guys. All right, it's 11:13. We are back. Okay. So Ashley has already brought this up, but I want to go ahead and share my screen. These are the 5 values of Scrum. All right. Courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. So what I want to do, just in this short time that we have together, is I want everyone to kind of pick like one that you think is like the most important of these 5 and put in the chat box on why you think it is the most important. So I know it's kind of hard to read. Let me actually do this. I learned this new trick with Zoom. Here we go. There's that a little bit easier to read.
No, it only shows 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down the list.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's courage. Scrum team members have the courage to do the right thing, work on tough problems. Focus, everyone focuses on the work of the sprint. Then there's commitment to achieving the goals, respect, that we are all capable and independent people. And the last one, openness. Stakeholders agree to be open about the work and the challenges of performing the work. So I'll go ahead and put it in the chat box as well so you have it. But I want you to look at these 5 values and I want you to tell me which one of these 5 do you say, I think this is the most important and this is why I think it's the most important in a project management situation. So it's courage, focus, commitment, respect, openness. And openness should have an extra S there. All right, Uzman, can you unmute yourself and tell us why do you think commitment is the most important?
I believe commitment is the most important thing because it's like the determining factor. It's your why. Because when you're committed, you'll like there's no obstacles that you won't get through if you stay committed. Like you'll be able to you'll be able to do all the rest. Like I feel like with commitment, if you're committed, you'll be committed to respecting, to being open, to the welcoming new challenges. etc.
Yeah, Usman, that's a really, really great observation. Commitment is sort of the centerpiece of all those others. As you said, if you have that as your north star, the rest all fall into place. Samaje, you said focus is important. Why is focus so critical in a project?
I feel like if you have focus, you can do the next steps
Mhm.
in that order. If you focus, you can have respect for your peers, you can be committed, you can be open. If you're not focused, you can't do any of those.
Mhm. As you guys recall from our previous unit on waterfall, scope creep is real. And scope creep is the opposite of focus. It's when you start doing the things that aren't important. Last one, Ricky and your beautiful husky. You said openness. Why is openness so important?
Well, like in the description, it said that you have openness, like to everybody. With if you have any problems with anything, or if you're going through anything like that, the team helps you out, and you know what's going on with the rest of your team. You know if anybody needs help, so everybody helps each other like that, and I believe that that will make the process a little easier if everybody works together. When
Agreed. I also really like the openness value as well. I personally want to work with teams where people are open and transparent. So I look at these values. I think they're really powerful: courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. And I don't know about you, but I want to work at a place where that was central, as being part of the organization. All right, we have about 25 minutes of class time left. Let's talk about the final exam. You guys ready? Or is that too overwhelming to hear about both in one day? Nope. Go ahead and make it happen, Manny says. Okay. First of all, just like intro to computers, you're going to have two options for what you want to do for your final. You can either do a solo project by yourself, or you can do a team project with your colleagues. The solo project is going to be a project charter. If you don't know what a project charter is, we talked about that in the waterfall unit. But essentially, that's a document outlining a project that you would want to do in your internship or your career. And you have to go through every detail of it. What is the timeline? What are the deliverables? What is the cost? Who is on the team? So some of you are probably thinking, "Oh, make a project charter deck. That's not a big deal. I could do that in 30 minutes." That's the first part of the solo work. The second part of the solo work is you have to write a 3-page, 750-word essay on how you came to the conclusion of your project charter. Okay, so if your project charter is I'm making a new app and it's going to cost $10,000, well, you have to make a breakdown of why is it going to cost $10,000 and show me all of those details. All right, so that's your first option. You can do that, and that's for people who say, I don't want to rely on my colleagues for my final grade because it's 25% of my final grade and I'd rather just do my own thing. So you have to create a project charter plus a 3-page, 750-word essay on how you came to your conclusions. Okay. Keep in mind, this will all be in an email later, and it's on School. I'll put it on Schoology as well. That's your first option. The second option is very similar to what we did before. You and 2 to 3 of your colleagues, which I will choose, will create a project idea, which you'll then do a presentation on, like a kickoff meeting. So that was what you'll do together with your team. You'll have a PowerPoint. You each will share out for a minute or two of a project. So it's kind of like a project charter, but instead of writing it out, you're creating a compelling presentation. This is what we're going to create. These are our goals. These are our benchmarks. This is our team. The nice thing about doing the presentation is that there is no essay involved. You just have to work together with your colleagues and create the presentation. You give the presentation to class next week when we have our final slot, which is 2 hours long. The nice thing also with doing the team presentation is that you have then the opportunity. The rest of us will vote on I would want to join this team because I think they have the most compelling project, and the team that gets the most votes gets bonus points on their final exam. Okay, so you really are motivated to do well. Um, and then the other thing also, this was asked in the last class. I want to make sure I'm clear. is that there will be a survey, just like last time, for those who opted in for the team presentation. Who was the leader in your group? Who was the person that you could say this individual went above and beyond and deserves some bonus points for the work that they put in? And who is the person that didn't pull their weight and they deserve to be docked a few points because they didn't do the work that was required? So that way, if you feel like I don't want to do the group project because there's always that lazy person, you will have the opportunity to give that feedback and say this person did not pull their weight and their grade will suffer. So with that being said, the final that is due for the independent will be due on Wednesday at midnight, a week from today. Um, and the group project will be, I believe, we have it on Wednesday. Right now, it's still kind of in flux when we're doing our finals to determine it with all the instructors and their schedules. But as of right now, we're scheduled to do ours on Wednesday. We're doing our finals with the IO students as well. So we'll all be here together for those 2 hours. Those who opt in for the team presentations will give their 5-minute presentation. There will be no Q&A, so we're just gonna try to keep things moving. And then we're gonna vote. I think this team had the most compelling project. I want to join their team, and whatever team gets the most votes gets bonus points on their final. So for those of you who are like really close to, maybe you have an 88 in this class right now and you really want to get an A, that's a good option for you. So that's the opportunities. Ashley Gavin asks, when will you choose the teams? Is I will choose the teams. What I'm going to do tonight is this afternoon rather, I'm going to email everybody, both IO and IT students, that you have until midnight tonight to decide which one you want to do. And I'll give you a Google form, and you can just put in a Google form, I want to be on a team project, or I want to be on the solo project. It's also on Schoology as well if Outlook is acting funny. And yes, I will choose the teams that you will be on, and I'll divvy up the work as I see appropriate. So for those of you, like what happened last time when I did this, is the 30 plus of us who are in this class, 4 or 5 of us did not actually submit which one they wanted to do, solo or team project. So if you don't submit one by 11:59 tonight, that means you are doing the solo project, because I'm not going to put you on a team if you didn't want to be on a team, because that's not fair to your colleagues. Okay, so I'm sure you guys have some questions. Do you want to go ahead and raise your hand? That's easier for me to field the question than putting it in the chat box. So we'll go ahead and do that. Can I put the Google form here? Sure. Let me just go ahead and find it. 1 second. If you already know what you want, I want to give you at least till midnight tonight to decide. But yes, you can do it now if you feel so compelled. There's the form if you already know which one you're choosing. Are there any questions on expectations? This afternoon, I'll open up the final exam explained in more detail. You can look it over. If Outlook's not working for you, send me a message on Schoology. But I do need you to decide by 11:59 tonight which one you're doing. So that way we're all squared away. Also, I see your hand, Samaji. I promise I'm not ignoring you. I just want to make sure I say everything up front. is you will tomorrow during class, I will have a short lecture wrapping up Scrum, and then I'll share after that the teams, and then I'll allow the teams to go into breakouts and begin preparing for the presentations. All of Monday's class will be that time with your group to prepare for the presentations. And Tuesday, I'm still trying to determine what I'm going to do, but you will be given time to prepare for your presentations, just like Intro to Computers. And then for those of you who are opting for the charter, we'll stay in the main room here and talk through that together and what that could look like. Can you put up the prompts for both so we can just? Yes, I'm going to put those up as soon as this class is over. I just want to let you guys know because I don't want you to like log on and be like surprised by what you saw. I want to explain it to you. That, and you'll find out your group members tomorrow. That's why I need everybody by tonight to decide what they're going to do, because tomorrow, short lecture, 30 minutes, and then I'll say, okay, here are your groups. Go with your groups. Get started. That gives you the whole weekend as well if you want to delegate tasks through the weekend. Then you have all of class time on Monday and probably all of class time on Tuesday to prepare for your presentation on Wednesday. All right, Samaje.
So you mentioned for like the people that's going to choose like their groups and stuff, they're going to get extra points due to their presentation, to LCJ and yada yada yada. For the people that may do like independent, will they get like extra points for something?
No, there are no extra points available for those who do independent. Yeah, thank you for asking. And the reason that I'm doing it that way is because I believe that if the best use of your time, if you're over group projects, you're over group projects. I'm not gonna, that's fine. But I believe if you really want to get the most value out of this class, that you should opt in for the team presentation. Because I think it's going to give you the skills necessary for the workforce that you're going to need. Because believe it or not, guys, in 2 months you're going to be in the workforce with teams, and it's very unlikely that your job's going to be you behind a computer by yourself all day. You're going to have to learn to work with other people. But at the same time, I don't think it's fair. This is my opinion, and you can take with it what you will. I don't think it's fair to put grade bearing work that's required on you with a team. That's just not fair. So I'm giving you the option. You can say, I want to do it on my own. That's fine. Or you can say, I want to do it with a team. That's fine as well. Christian, do you have your hand up, or did I answer your question? Oh, I think we might have lost Christian. Can we lightly suggest at least one person we'd like to work with? Can you take that into consideration? Sure. I'll tell you what you can do is you can email me and CC the person, because I want to make sure that you've talked to that person before and said, oh yeah, me and this person, we decide we want to work together, and I can consider that, absolutely. But don't do what some of you do during breakouts, where it's like, oh yeah, can I go to David's group, and then someone's like, why am I getting an invite to a breakout room? I don't want to go to a breakout room. That happens sometimes. So make sure consent is important. Make sure that you do that. Yeah, and the groups will be about 4 to 5 people. Probably not much more. Probably I'm going to aim for 3 to 4 actually, because I think 5 is a little bit too much. 3 to 4 people. Might be 1 of 5 if it shakes out that way. Also, you're not going to be working with IO students. They'll have their own teams. You'll be working exclusively with students in this section. Yeah, LLT. Can you write down who you don't want to work with? I mean, sure, but I can't promise you anything. Yeah, you never met the IO students, Manny, but you'll meet them on Wednesday of next week. That's the day we do our final, because we're doing that together with them. And they're a much smaller class. They're only about 11 students. Oh wow, 9 of you already wrote. Wow, 77% of you chose the group presentation. Good for you guys. So that if you want a sample size of what we're working with, if those 9 people are indicative of everybody else in the class, that means that most of us, 24 of us, are going to choose the team project. And then you can email me and say, I want to work with Ricky. I don't want to work with, I'm not going to make fun of anybody, but who can I make fun of that won't get their feelings hurt? Samaje. I don't want to work with Samaje. Her and I, we're water and oil. If you press the wrong one, just go back and do it a second time. That's fine. All right. So is this stressing you guys out? Are you guys having anxiety? Do we need to do another breathing exercise? Does everyone feel good?
I'm chilling.
You're just chilling, super stressed. Listen, this is one thing you should learn about me, because you guys have had me now for 2 mods, is I'm not a very hard grader. If you do the work, you're going to be fine. I'm going to put it on Schoology here in the next hour or 2. I'll also email you when it's uploaded. I'll also put it on like a message on Schoology, so you can read it all in detail and then make your decision of what you think is right. We love you, Eric. Wow, David, you're so kind. I love you all too. And I hope you guys have Eric for president. All right, Manny. I think you should be the president and I'll be your VP. How's that sound? We could really get some stuff done. A Marine and a teacher will relate to a lot of America. All right. Let's wrap it up. Are we good? If you guys have questions, stay back and ask. If not, have a wonderful rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Eric.
Then you just know I'm responsible for my own thing, and that's it. You know.
Look, Eric, I always hated essays since high school. Those
Sure.
essays have been following me for the rest of my life. Please. I try to my best to stay away from essays.
Yeah, well then do the team presentation. I don't know what to tell you, Manny. If you don't like essays, then do the team presentation. You're a good presenter. Any other burning questions before we close this room?
Yes, I have a very burning question.
Yes, Ashley Ross.
My question is for, you know what? Never mind. I'm just not gonna think about it until tomorrow. All right. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, Ashley.
I have a question.
Actually, I have a question.
Hold on. I
Andre.
think it was it Ricky, then Andre.
Go for it, Andre. It's just not.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure if your email was one of the emails that was working. I know Katrina said some of the emails still aren't working.
I mean, I haven't sent an email since. Hold on. Let's do this. Let's just try in real time. Do you have your email open, Andre?
Yep.
All right, I'm sending you an email right now. So tell me if I haven't sent an email all week because it's been down. I'm receiving emails, but I haven't tried sending any yet. Did you get the one I just sent?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, so probably the best place to coordinate would be let me see here what's happened on my screen. Just send me a message on Schoology if you have to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still don't have email. How annoying. All right, that's good to know.
Quick question. So then, if let's say we email you with the people that we want to work with, if we CC them, are they going to be able to see it or?
Yes, if you CC someone on an email, they can see the email.
No, I know that, but like you see how it's you saying that it's down and you can't email us back and things like that. Will they like? Are you going to be able to receive the email and see who we CC'd or not?
I should be able to. I've been receiving emails just fine today. I just think sending emails, I'm having trouble.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Ashley Gavin just emailed me right now and I got it. So
It's still on Wednesday, right? Like everything.
yeah, so as of right now, the schedule might change slightly. Wednesday and Thursday are our days for finals. As of right now, we're doing our final Wednesday from 9 to 11 a.m. a week from today. It might change, but very likely that's what it's going to be. We'll find out tomorrow for sure.
Okay.
Wait, Eric.
But either Wednesday or Thursday, Jaleesa. Yeah, Manny.
Sorry to cut you off. So if you can present for your final, right? Katrina's class is gonna be asynchronous, if I'm not mistaken.
Which class?
Cartoons.
So what's the I need to ask Kachun. I'm not sure how he's doing his class.
Because I have a interview with him for next week for the final. It's on a Wednesday. So if your final is on either on a Wednesday or Thursday, if it's on a Wednesday, I'm gonna have to miss your class.
Yeah, so that's the thing, man. Is we're still hammering out the details, but there will not be any overlap. Okay, so what they do, like it's like 2 hours for Eric's class, 2 hours for Vanessa's class, 2 hours for Kara's class, 2 hours for Kachun's class. Like you're not going to be any overlap. So, as of right now, it's written in pencil. Wednesday that we have our final, but the final will be determined tomorrow. So don't worry about that. You won't miss anything.
Roger that.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any other questions?
Eric.
You're welcome. See you guys later. Have a great day. Enjoy your lunch if you're taking one, which you should. See you guys.
Yeah, Rick.
Bye.